Hello there and welcome. I'm Ole Brøgger, and if you're new here, I really hope I'll earn your subscription today. I'm very excited about this video because we're going to build the Blimp on this ship, and I've been giving that a lot of thoughts. I've been throwing ideas all around, and I think I might have come up with a solution. But I will show you what I've been working on, so we better get started. One of my first thoughts were, it's a balloon. The Blimp. This is future me, and this is the second time I'm editing this video. 3 months ago, and that's actually last time I made a video about this airship, I lost a hard drive. And on that hard drive, my edited projects were, and that's unfortunate. Luckily enough, all my raw material was on another hard drive, so I could edit all this again. The outro on this video, however, wasn't filmed, so that will be a recent one. But I'll let you get back to the video. One of my first thoughts were, it's a balloon. The Blimp is actually a balloon. I tried with balloons, and this is way too small. I could get a bigger balloon, and then they will still be bendy, and I thought about maybe I could use some paper with glue and make the shape, and I don't think it will hold, and actually I don't think it will be very good. I thought, okay, maybe multiple balloons and make some sections of this Blimp. And that idea didn't work either. Then I thought, okay, maybe I can build something with wire, maybe some metal wire hangers, and make a shape from that. And I don't think I can do that precise enough because I really want to be nice and smooth and round and look like a cigar. That idea, that didn't work out either. Wait, what? I actually have a laser cutter, but I'm not very good at CAD designs. This will need a lot of CAD designs and trials and errors. I started to look into Inkscape, which is the only program I know, and it's free. I thought, okay, I could make these landing bridges here. It worked, and I didn't make many mistakes. And I actually laser cut a lot of stuff on this ship. The wings I also designed. I came up with some rings. I think this will actually work. I will have to make a lot of rings. We will need some smaller rings in the ends, but connecting them, that is a big issue. How do I connect them so they can be stable enough? I made 8 tiny slots on each ring, and I will show you. I'll just have to move my camera up here. This is all the rings I have cut so far. I have the biggest possible ring I can make on my laser cutter. It is 20 centimeters, 200 millimeters, or 8 inches. I think I will need something that is a bit bigger than this, but we will get back to that later. The biggest challenge I had, how do I connect these rings to each other so I will get this cigar look? I started out with a very simple solution, but I will need a lot of glue to make this work. What if I could interlock 2 of these pieces? And I came up with this design, but I miscalculated something. So this one here, it didn't work. And then we have this one, and it could work. It actually works. I can lug it in here, and it could work. I had an issue because I also need to step down a ring size with this one, and I couldn't make the right angle from up here and down without getting a notch up here. So I had to come up with a new design, and then I started to over-engineer things. this little thing, they still fit together like a puzzle. It didn't solve my issue with the angle up here. And finally, I came up with a more simple solution where these notches are very slim and as close as I could get them to the edge of the ring. And I won't get too much of a notch up here if I'm going to use one of the angles so I can step down to the next size of a ring. So now I will have a flush step down to the next ring. And I think this will work. I'll just need to go to the workshop and cut some more of these. And one more thing, I need another ring, or actually I need 5 rings that are slightly bigger than this. My laser cutter can't, this is the maximum size. I even pushed it to the limit here. You can see I just missed this cut. This is the edge of the board that I cut. It's okay in this end, but that's the maximum size. So we are into half rings. And then I can actually step it up even further if I need to. But I made this locking system here, and then I can connect these 2 rings. And when I put some pins in here, this should definitely work. Let's head out to the workshop and cut some pieces so we can connect these rings. Now that I'm back from the laser cutter, I cut some of these and they work fine. We can connect them like this, and I tightened the design so they will have a press fit. And then I also cut something like this to make it even more stable so I can lock it with this one. When this gets some glue, I think it will work. I just encountered another problem because when I'm going to step down, I will need something like this. And I showed that earlier, but I noticed a problem. Now it's getting very thin up here. I don't know if you can see it, but now it's not flush up here. And it's getting even worse because I thought I need the smaller rings to be closer and closer so I will get a nice rounded arch this way. And then I had to cut something that was even smaller. And this is the smallest one I cut. And look, it just broke when I was trying to put it on. I can barely touch them without breaking. And then I thought it could be very nice if I could make a small bump up here with the straight ones and sloped ones. And I did. I made a tiny arch on these. And now I got the design that I actually want. And I think this is going to look pretty cool. This is a straight one, so from one ring size to one at the same size, I will get a balloon-like shape. Oops. And between 2 rings, I will have a small arch up here, and I will have the balloon effect all around when all 8 is installed. And it also solved my problem with the step-down version. So it's still flush here with the ring. And this actually works when I'm going to step it down. Now I have a more solid, it's still very thin, but it's good enough and it's not breaking just touching it. And I can step down a ring like this. Now I just have to cut someone that is a bit shorter than this, and I think it will work. But let's start to put the long ones together and all the half rings, and I will start doing that now. When this glue is dry, I really think this is going to hold up. I'll only mount these locks in the top and the bottom of the blimp, because then they will work like a spine all the way through the blimp. Okay, I got this far and I left it overnight and let it dry because when I took some final measurements, I found out that I might have made these a bit too short. You can see it if I pull the ship over here. This is where we're going to make an attachment for the blimp. And I want to attach the thing I haven't figured out yet from here somewhere down to this. They have to be right in front of here. This is the original length, and if I put it in here, it is too short. I want this to be right in the middle. So I had to make one thing that is a bit longer. And then I thought, okay, the symmetry might not be good. And I actually thought about breaking this apart and put the long one in the middle. I thought, okay, maybe when I'm going to have it longer in the back end and more pointy, and in the front end, I want it to be more bulky and round. It didn't matter that the last one were a bit longer because then we are going to make a long pointy end. I think in the end, this will actually have the shape as an old school World War II bomb. I will mount these on the last 220mm ring. If I bring this out again, it matches perfectly. Okay, let's step it down to a 200mm ring. This was the first step down to a smaller ring. But now I encountered another problem because I need a mirrored version of this. If I mount it here, it will be a step up ring. And it doesn't matter if I flip it around. So I actually needed to make a mirrored version of this. And here it is. I started to mark up some of these so I could tell the difference. As you can see, I also put some numbers on these. And this is the opposite version of the one up here. So if I put it in this end, it will start to go up. If I put the original one, you can see this will go up here. For this version, it will bring it down to the 200mm ring in this end. Now I can start attaching a lot more rings. I just noticed something. I think this is a bit too short because when I tested, and I know it's very hard to see here on cam because there's not much room, I think the fattest section up here is too short. I want two more elements in here so it's more bulkier in the back. I'm glad that I didn't super glue this, so I can actually take it off. And then I will need to cut two more sections of these beams. One that is the standard 50mm length and the special 57. And then I will actually get the symmetry with the lengths and widths and all that. So back to the laser cutter. I cut two sections of the 220mm, that's the 8.5 inch, the biggest ring. And then I cut some of these connectors or spacers. And don't mind the numbers, they're just going on in my head so I can figure out where to put them. This is some of the standard lengths. This is a match for this. And the first ring will be with these and the last one with those. To make it more round, I got these. This is just a shorter version that is a 40mm, and then I have this, which is also a 40mm, but it is more steep and it will skip one ring size down to two. So I will get a more steep slope here in the front and maybe make it more bulky instead of pointy as it is in the back end. And now I think these are going to be very difficult the smaller they get, because I won't have the same room for my fat hands. And here in the back end, I'll also use a 40mm step down. But I will still be only stepping down one ring size. I think I'm getting the shape that I want. And I kind of like this design. I'm very happy that I didn't use balloons for this. I know this took a lot more effort, but I think it will end up looking pretty good. I had some mic issues and the rest of this video will be made in voiceover. And now I just need the final part of the back end. And now it's getting very tight. And I have very big difficulties getting my fat fingers in here and put the last spacers in place. I'm actually quite happy how this turned out. I think I got the shape right and it just looks awesome. It kind of breaks my heart that I have to cover this architectural wonder into this piece of cloth or paper cloth. This is from when you get a new laptop. It's covered in this in the package. I'll cut this into some strips that matches the width of each section of the blimp. We also need some fins, and I cut out 3 exactly the same, and I will make them the same way as I did with the wings and the rudder. I also 3D printed these brackets, and I made some posts that can hold this blimp up because I needed something that was stiff, and then I thought, okay, maybe I can make something that looks a bit more industrial, steampunk. These will be painted like they were metal. I just need to glue the last piece into the holes and then we can start painting. I'll just prime them black and after that I will paint them with some metal color. I'll do the same thing with these brackets that will go on the side of the ship. And the fins will be painted with the darkwood speed paint, the same way I did the rudder and the wings. And I'll use this hard bronze. This is a speed paint and this is actually the only color I will give all these stuff because I think it will give it a very nice metallic look. I also need a way to mount these fins on top and the side of the ship. So I think I'll make a bracket that can fit right here and I can just click in this fin when it's glued together. But first I need to put some skin on these fins and I'll use super glue. It just attaches to the skin right away because it is soaked in paint, glue and water and it works as an activator. And this is actually pretty easy, just trimming it off and then I got the look I want. Almost. I need some curves so it will look like some dragon wings or fish wings. And of course we also need to paint the skin, so bony matter, speed paint, through the airbrush and they're done. And while the paint is drying I came up with these. This is the mounting brackets for the fins. I will need to cover the whole blimp up before I'm attaching the fins, so I will put them away for now. I mixed up some glue, paint and water and then I will just let the fabric soak everything up. I used some super glue just to make a fixed point to make this stay where I wanted it. I only managed to cover these 2 sections and then I had to hit the bed. Now this have been drying for a couple of days. I just ran out of time so I didn't have time to look at this. And I noticed a problem. These sections is starting to sag. I want this to be more balloon-like and not a blimp with a flat tire. I tried to make some foam bricks and see if I could push it up, and that would be a problem when everything is covered. I could install these before I was wrapping it. I think the solution here will be using some very thick paper and just make some more stable lines underneath. And the things I attach, I don't want to bother taking it off. I will just cover it up and put this paper on top of it. I just attached all the paper strips with some hot glue. And it was actually pretty easy. I only spent 1 hour attaching all these paper strips and I think this is going to work. With all these paper strips in place, it's so much easier to glue on the fabric, and I didn't even need to use super glue to start out the attachment. I also didn't put paint in the glue because it would be a waste of time mixing in paint if I'm going to paint it anyway. and this is the final strip of fabric. I spent only 2 hours attaching this, and it went a lot faster than I anticipated. I thought I would spend a whole day. I used some watered down Mod Podge and brushed it all over the blimp, just to make sure that everything would stay where I put it. I let it dry overnight, and then I used this snow tundra. And this is just to give it a base coat. I know this has a blue tint to it, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna paint it over anyway. I also want to mark up each section of the blimp. And I found this twine, which I'm going to wrap around the blimp on each section. And this type of twine actually looks like rope in a miniature scale, so I think this is going to be pretty cool. And that was the last piece of twine. Now I just need to cut a hole in the front and put all the ends in there. And then I glued in a piece of wooden dowel. Now it's time for some paint. I have mixed up some craft paint. This is a sand and some burnt umber. I just put a tiny drop of burnt umber, and this is such a thick paint that I really like that I get this brown streaks in the paint, so I didn't mix it up on purpose. Now I just need a highlight color. I used the burnt umber again, but this time I also mixed in some white, and this will give me some highlights. I also mixed it down with a lot of water so it would be less opaque and more transparent. Now I need to weather this, and I used some airbrush medium, water and some of the burnt umber and put it in a spray bottle. And this will give it a nice and weathered look without being too much. And now I just need to paint the hinges and we're pretty much done. I used the hard bronze, and that was the same as I used for the posts and brackets to mount this blimp. Mounting the fins with some super glue, I decided to use real screws instead of the 3D printed I actually had made. But they were a bit too long, so I had to shorten them, and that was pretty easy. The advantage of using these is that I can actually use real nuts. And the same thing goes for the brackets I have made below. There was a simulated nut on the other side, but the screw here, it just fits perfectly into the hole. Over the last few days, I've been editing this video again, and finally this blimp is done. And I went to bed last night and I was just setting everything up here with the camera and lighting, and then I thought, okay, tomorrow morning I can make this outro. Unfortunately, the stand this ship is on, and this is getting quite top heavy. 4:45 I was woken up by a huge bang, and everything was on the floor. So I have spent most of this day repairing all this stuff, and yeah, it took some time, but I managed to repair everything and the ship is back in its original state. I also reinforced the stand that is on because it was quite wobbly. I still have to improve that, and it is a bit wobbly, but now it won't flip over. All of these broke, some of the railing broke, and unfortunately the rudder control broke. These could be detached, so and fortunately they still work, but the rudder, I really need to get that fixed. I didn't have time to do it, but it will be fixed. I still have one video left of building this ship, and then we're going into some details. I need some lighting, and it also needs a propulsion system. This is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you already haven't done it, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down if you don't like videos like this. And I will see you soon with more Building This Airship. Goodbye for now.